Hi there, are you ready to start cutting? These blocks turn out so beautiful. And I'm going to admit that when I first saw it, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this block. But when I finished it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So as you can tell, I did it in the green colorway because I felt like it would be too dark for us to really see. And I thought the red might be a little bit easier. So this is what your block is going to look like. Now, I will tell you in this one, I did change the colorways. And even if it's not, this is not the way you're supposed to see it. I absolutely adore it. So I will be changing the colorway on the red. All right, let's get that out of the way. The rulers we will be using is the Hexagon. Definitely using this week. I'm also going to be using the fussy cut triangle to help trim those points off the triangles. And I am going to use the regular sidekick since we're dealing with a smaller cut on these diamonds. This is a little bit easier for me to use, but I will show you one with the super kite sidekick in case that's the only one you have. But honestly, it is the same thing. If you put them together like this, they have the same cuts. It's just literally the smaller cuts. So, all right, let's get started. Let's pick our color choices first. I'm also using the So Tight matte, which I absolutely adore. And thank you so much for being a sponsor. And the straight edge ruler that they have, it really holds the fabric down nice and tight so I don't slip. And I love that aspect. So, all right, let's get started. Grab your swatch book. We'll need that pretty soon. And here's my pack. They're the green ones. I left those out. This is for our pillow later on. Don't you just love that you're cutting fabrics for a future project and you don't have to sit there and cut them all? I love it. All right, let's get started. Grab your pack, whether you're using our kit, an old kit, or whatever. All right. So let's try these out. This is lipstick. This is rich red. This is ruby. This is Chinese red. This is tomato. And this is poppy. Now, when I'm looking at this, the A, B, and C are the darker ones. And so I think the ruby I'm going to use for A. So I'm going to mark it down in my swatch book here. Ruby is A. And then, actually, no. Ruby is B. Ruby is B. So I'm going to change that to B. That's this one. I'm going to make the Chinese red A. Chinese red A. And rich red. I want to make sure this is Chinese red and this is rich red because this is ruby. Chinese, ruby, rich. Yeah, I'm going to make this one C. Rich red C. Then I'm looking at these. So that's those. I'll make those a little tighter. We're looking at this one, and this one. I think lipstick of the three. No, I think poppy is going to be my E. Lipstick is going to be my F. And then that would leave tomato being D. All right. So now that we know that, I'm going to cut in the order that I have the fabrics. That way I don't get mixed up. So I'm just going to look at my book where I wrote which one I want. So lipstick is my first color and it is F. So we're going to cut the F. I'm going to set these over here. And the F is with the Hexagon because it's triangles. Yay, triangles. All right, so you're going to cut to the specifications in your pattern. Actually, going to turn this around so I have a nice line. Okay, and we're going to cut 2 strips. Yes, F, 2 strips. And you'll have plenty, so don't worry about it. You don't have to worry about which direction your square is going. All right, got our hexamore. I'm going to go ahead and cut a little swatch piece so we don't forget. Putting that in the swatch book. I know it's hard to see the swatch book there. I don't need this right now, so I can get that out of the way. All right, we'll have those 2 sitting there. I am going to go ahead and run the pillow triangle. You just take that hexamore and do your triangle. Ooh, I did not get that at all. Okay, I have that, and this is where my little fussy cut shape comes in handy to cut off, trim those little corners off like that. All right, so all that kind of work is done. Let's start cutting our actual pieces for the block. All right, so you line up according to the size of the pattern. You cut your triangle. Then you turn the ruler around, not upside down, just around. Line it up and cut. Then you turn your ruler around. We are doing 6 of these triangles, so you do 3 per row. You have plenty, so no worries, no worries. And there are your 3 triangles. 1, 2, 3 for the first row. And then we are doing, ooh, one of these came off. Let me put that back on. We're doing another 3. And yes, we are going to trim our points off. You will absolutely love having them trimmed. And I'm also going to trim those diamonds. Okay, so this is the one that there's quite a bit of cutting. We're getting the majority, the largest cutting out of the way. Turn that ruler over, line it up. I'm not wearing my good glasses today, so we will see. Yeah, I didn't think I grabbed that top. All right, well, just line that back up. There we go. Turn that ruler over. And cut that last triangle. All right, 2 different ways that you can cut these, trim these. I'm going to go over it again. You can line it up like this and trim, and then turn your block, line it up, and trim. For these larger ones, if you want to use the fussy cut, it's the same angle, then you won't be able to cut 2 at one time because it is larger, but you can line it up on the side like that and trim, and then line it up on the sides where it sits like that and trim. All right. So that's 2 that are trimmed. I actually like for these bigger ones to use the Hexagon more. All right, so we are going to finish trimming those points. All right, now that all of our pieces are trimmed up and looking really sharp, let's move on to the second fabric. So this is F. Keep that in mind. But you have your little sheet and you're keeping track, so you're good to go, right? You're good to go. All right, our next color is rich red, and we are doing C. So on this one, we're doing a couple of diamonds. It really doesn't matter which way you turn, you know, like how long it is or anything else like that for this one, because you're only doing 2 diamonds. So what I am going to do, I'm actually looking at this. I am going to show you, let's see, so it's just kind of wonky. Yeah, we'll just cut the one per on this one because this one's a little bit wonky. All right, so you've got, you're cutting pretty much everything except the hex at the same rate. 1, 2, same with the triangles. We go ahead and take care of the other part. That way I don't get confused at all. Putting that one on. This can jump out of the way. Now we are using the sidekick and or the super sidekick. Well, let's cut this. Let's cut this triangle real quick. All right. I get so excited about the block ones. That's why I like to do the ones that I'm putting to the side first, because I get so excited that I'll forget to do it. And then I'm like, oh man, I got to go back and I got to pull out the scraps and stuff like that. So I'm just going ahead and taking care of this before I get started, because I appreciate it in the end. This is one of those that you're like, I'll get to it later, I'll get to it later. But then, you know, when you go to make that project, you're so glad you took the little extra time. Okay. I'll show you once with the super sidekick, and then the rest of the time I'm just going to use the regular sidekick. So you line up at the top and the bottom, and you make sure that your tip is not extending, the ruler's not extending above, you know, beyond the edge of this right here. So you trim that off. Then you turn the fabric around. Now you can line it up at the top and down the side, and you trim it like that. Okay, there is one of your diamonds. Now that's the last time I'm going to use that size ruler. I'm going to use the smaller one from here on out. And I'm even going to show you here. See, you line it up. That extends a little too far on this one because I didn't pay attention to what side I was cutting on. So that one we'll use as a scrap. All we need is 2. I'm going to line it up again on this side like this. Trim, turn, same thing. You see how it's just a little bit easier to kind of manage with the smaller pieces. Okay, trim like that. Now, when I was sewing the original one here, I was affected by those tips and wish that I had cut those tips off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these tips off of this. You don't have to do this. This is just something that it worked better. Like it seemed like it would work better if I cut that tip off. So I am going to take the time. These are just falling off left and right. They usually don't fall off. All right. And trim the tip. It doesn't take that long. And now you are done with C. All right, let's get some of these scraps out of the way. What's our next color? Ruby, and we're doing B. Same thing. Same thing. Let me measure this real quick. All right, so what I'm going to do, this one is a full, nice and straight, 10 inches this way. I am going to go ahead and show you how to get 2 out of 1 strip, because we'll be doing that on another one on E. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do it first. So when I'm using the Sidekick and I'm setting it up to begin with, I do it just a hair off the edge here. Ooh, wish that I could show you. It won't go down. I mean, it's not even 1/8 of an inch. It's just a tiny, tiny little sliver hair. All right, we're going to trim that off. Turn this around, and then you're going to line it up. And you'll see right over here, you see that just little sliver off. And we're not going to worry about it because we're going to trim it anyway. All right. And here you see you've got just a little sliver over right there. But again, it doesn't matter, because when we start to trim these tops, you want to line it up, make sure it's all nice and straight. You are going to cut that right off. So you can get 2 from 1 row. Probably can even get away with it if it's the 9 7/8. You just have to be careful where you're lining that up. And then it gets taken away when we trim these. And honestly, even if you don't trim these points, it will get taken up in the seam allowance. And you'll end up trimming it anyway. That's what I ended up doing. I could get on it. All right, so this is Ruby. Now we need to cut the triangle and the swatch piece so we don't lose track. It's nice you've got this big extra little piece. Okay, there's that. And for a swatch, I'll just trim a little bit off. It's narrow, but that's okay. Ruby, push that in pretty good. There we go. And now let's trim these. And we are moving on. Getting easier and easier with the cutting and using these rulers. I hear y'all saying that. I'm real excited about that. It's getting easier for me too. All right. Chinese red is A. This is the easiest one. All right. We are cutting the whole width of this ruler. Doesn't matter about how long it should be or anything. This one's real easy. Okay, so I'm going to cut a little swatch, taking care of the business here. We're cutting a hex in a minute. Got to get my iron going pretty soon. We are almost done cutting. All right. One last bit for this. Oops. Let's turn it this way so I can cut them all at one time. Here and here. And get this in the swatch book. taking care of business. All right. So now we're to, oh no, we've got to do the hex. All right, here we go. Your hexamore ruler, you line up to the size that's in the pattern book. Remember not to extend off the edge here with this little tip. You're going to want to put it right to the tip, but not over. And then trim, turn around, turn your fabric around. There's a lot of turning the fabric around. Line up top, bottom, and this side right here. Cut and cut, and you have your hex. So super easy. That one really, really quick. Okay, so that's A. Now we are on tomato, and that is D. So D, we're cutting 4 triangles. Easy peasy. We've been cutting triangles all day long. So back at it again. You are going to need 2. You can get 3 from one row, but you're going to be cutting 4, so you're going to have to cut 2 anyway. And like that. Triangles, triangles, triangles. By the time you get to the end of this, you will know how to do triangles in your sleep, because when we get to the background, lots of triangles. Lots of triangles. But the results are so cool, and that's what I love about Jaybird's patterns. They are just so unique and mind-bending, and every time I do one of her quilts, there's some of them that I go back and I'm like, I don't really know how I did that. I know I did it, but I can't figure it out. That's how amazing this is. All right. And I love the reactions of people who don't sew, because they're amazed by any kind of work that you do, but then they really go gaga over this. All right, so we've got our triangle done for our pillow. Get the scrap out of the way. How about we stack and whack? I know I've started doing more of that. I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with the rulers, and I think we're gonna stack and whack. I love the stack and whack. I love how it sounds. All right, we stacked to make sure everything was lined up really, really well. That is the one thing you've got to do. Then you're lining that up, holding it tight, putting a little pinky out to the side so it stays nice and straight. I'm gonna pull that away, make sure I cut it really well. And then, yes, I know I'm not supposed to be cutting towards you, but I moved to the side. Okay, so there are our 2 triangles right there. And then turn, see, this is where it's good. You don't have to turn the fabric. You can turn the ruler, line it up with that angle, make sure it's lined up on top, and cut. And there are your 4 triangles. So nice and quick. Now let's trim those points. Another trim session. All right, now we are done with those triangles. We only have one more thing to cut. Woo, it's a lot of cutting this month. That's all right. When we get to the background, you'll think this is a breeze, because there is a lot of cutting with that one. Now, on this one, we are really, this is E, this is the last one. You see, it's a little bit off here. I want to make sure that my 10 inches is up and down for this one. We definitely want that up and down 10 as much as you can get. Again, you can do it with the smaller one, and in fact, I'll show you. I'll do it with the one that's not quite to 10 inches on the bottom and show you how to make this work. Okay, it's the same thing. You trim, you cut your strips. Ooh, that one went really freaking wonky. Well, I'm gonna have to work with it because I don't know why that one went so wonky. All right, here we go, because I knew I couldn't get another one out of it. We're just gonna have to make it work. All right, so now you get to see it's not quite 10 inches and it's wonky. Yay, I'm so excited. All right, you're gonna start it off the same way, but you are going to leave just a little more than a hair off here. Just a little more than a hair. Not quite all the way, all the seam allowance, but just a little bit, probably 1/8 of an inch off the edge there. This is if you don't have a full 10 inches. All right, now you see that kind of stubby edge there. So when we line this up, you can see that stub edge there that's not quite to that line. All right, and you're going to trim this one. Okay, there you go. There's that one. And now we're going to do our other one. And this one, actually, it's just a tiny little hair, just a tiny little hair. So we're going to trim that one. The reason why it's not a problem is because we're going to trim these corners off. And you see, that's not really a nice point, but it doesn't matter. Trim that off and trim that off. And we have perfect diamonds. Trim that off. And here we go again with, it's got a little stub nose on it. We're going to trim that off. Okay, there's 2 of them. We've got 2 more to do, and then that is all the cutting for the block. We still have to do the triangle and the swatch. All right. Ooh, no. That would have been scary. All right, the same way with this one. Let's give it a little bit on that edge. And then turn it around and line it up just a tiny bit off that edge. Cut again and line it up. This one's got a good little bit over here, but I still think we're going to be okay. Can you see that? Can you see that little that's coming out there? See how that point did? I still think it's going to be all right. Let's line it up. And just a tiny bit to take off, but it did fine. So I did not use the 10-inch length. I used one that was a little short to show you how you could still make this work, okay? But if you have the full inches, use the full 10 inches and make it easy on yourself. Don't try to make it hard on yourself. I'm just doing it so you can see how it works. That's all. All right, just one last thing. Let's get the swatch. Then I'll show you how to lay it out, and we'll meet back next week to sew it. So exciting. This one's, it's really kind of fun, actually. I enjoyed sewing it. All right, triangle. And here we go. Just to think, after this, you only have 12 more little triangles. These little triangles for the pillow, and you'll be done. Isn't that amazing? We're that close. I didn't cut the tip off of this one. So I've got all 4 to do. And that one. All right, that's done. I am going to take a minute and put my triangles, kind of get them organized. Make sure I cut the tips off of all of them. There are pretty green ones. Don't want any of them folding over either. I want them nice and flat. Okay, we are getting quite the collection here. It's getting pretty. Oh, okay, only 12 more of these and we'll have 108. It's amazing. All right, let's get the project board and let's lay these out. I am going to keep the swatch book close to me because we did change up. I mean, you don't have to, but I did change up the orders. So I want to make sure I'm getting them in the right places. Just getting everything out of the way. And here is the project board. I know we start with the hex. This is a, turn my iron on. I kind of want to hit that with an iron. It's a little bit wrinkly. Okay, this is A, and then we've got to put D around it. So let's get my, that's lipstick. This is D. Use my swatch card to figure out how to do that. So D goes here and here. See, there's trimming, it makes it really nice. Here and here. And then we have E goes here and here. And this is one unit that you'll sew together. Okay, so this is one unit. You'll sew these two together, this on this and this on this, and then sew straight and straight. So this is one unit. All right, then we've got F. And F, you put here, here, and here. And you also do the same down here. Here, here, and here. Kind of in, and we'll adjust it as we put the other blocks on in. All right, then what is this one? This is E. Where else does E go? E goes on the very outside like this. The very outside like this. So we'll adjust that. And this is B. So B goes here and here. And then this is C and it. Oh, I didn't cut the tip of that one. Let me trim off the tip of that one real quick. Okay, and then that one goes there, and this one goes here. So one sewing unit, this is one sewing unit, and this is one sewing unit. And it's not that there's a lot of chain piecing, but kind of, we can kind of put things together and sew them as long as you keep it organized like this. Now I did sew this first, and then I did these two kind of together. All right, I'll see you next week. We're going to sew all these pieces together and you'll see how easy it is. All right, happy cutting.